Talufalava, malo soifua maua, malangi ma, olo ingoa o Jacinta Tevaga-Vito, tuala tulo, o te sau mai awhioanga leawaa, o toa nuu, sa fotu ma sa taua I Samoa, na o whanau I Samoa I moto o tua, I apia, o lo tamā o Tevaga-Vito, tiputa tuala tulo, mai le awhioanga o kawakele leawaa, ia ma lutoa nuu, ma sa fotu. Ua whailangi langa fo launga I tausanga tasi iwa walu iwa I Samoa. O lo tina o tuala pesi mai pea tauita, tuala se nio whaua, mai le awhioanga o funga vaionge leawaa, ma sa taua Samoa. O te nofo nei I Aukilani, New Zealand, ma o mātua o ngā tui ratapita mai le awhioanga leawaa. And malok tina. Whaftai lava.
All right, Jacinta, if we can just start by me asking, tell us about your journey as a tangata sa Ilimalo, your condition, whether that was acquired or was it something that you entered the world with. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Famanmut?
Yeah, I was born in Samoa. I was fully sighted. I was born in my village. I grew up in that village, and from the time I think I was about 10, when I came to New Zealand, my mother came with my sibling and little sister, 1989, after the passing of my father, and to get a better life for all of us. We were all young. There were 6 of us. Young children coming here, and I did my schooling here in or my private school. My whole life I went to private school. It wasn't until I was in my senior years I started noticing my vision being blurry, sort of far-sighted or short-sighted. But the weirdest thing is that because my father's family, all the girls, they wear glasses. So my thought was, I was going down that line of needing glasses. So from 16 to 17, it was just getting worse. I was getting flu-like symptoms, and I wasn't sort of, really engaging with any support or going to the doctors. It wasn't until my older sister, who was still staying with us, I had to get up to work early, and I went to the bathroom, and she noticed my eyes were, bloodshot red, and she said to me, your eyes are bleeding. And I thought, oh yeah, my vision is quite dim at the moment. So we made an appointment to go to a optometrist. At that time we were living at Otara, and from there they didn't know what was happening to my eyes, so they referred me to the Auckland, what was called the eye clinic back then, Wallace Block in the city. So that started that journey of what was actually medically happening to me. I stayed there for a whole month because they didn't know what was happening. Never heard of all the symptoms that I had, and I think I had about 10 doctors coming in and out to do all the medical checkups under the sun on me, and they found out I had VKH. I can't pronounce it, but it's apparently it's the name of the doctors that discovered that condition, which is an autoimmune condition that affected my eyes, my ears, and my brain. So the part of my hearing, part of an inflammation on, there's a part in my brain, as well as retina detachment at the back of my eyes. So when that started, they gave me a treatment which worked really well, which was a heavily A-class sort of medication, steroids, and all that to help reduce the inflammation in my eyes, because by that point my sight was it was really dark. I couldn't see properly, but it was dim, sort of like looking in a dark room. And from that, the medication helped. So I didn't know that it was going to get the way it was. My thought then, as a 16-year-old, because I didn't like school, it was, yes, I don't have to go to school anymore. You know, I don't have to do the hours around the house. I don't have to cook anymore, and you know, those kind of things. So when we had a talk with the doctor, he said, you'll be on medication for probably 2 years, until your sight fully can recover some sort of 80% to 90%. So for the past that time, during 4 years in and out of the hospital, I had surgery of cataracts removed. I wore glasses. And so my sight was steady, around about 70%. But they did, prognosis was, there will be a time that you will go blind. And I didn't accept that. So throughout the years, in my, teen years to my 30s, and I noticed it in my very late 30s, it was deteriorating really bad. And that medication itself took a whole different side effects for my mental health. And so I stopped my medication, which I don't advise to do. But if I were to outweigh my mental health going in that way to losing some of my sight, I would have taken that ladder of not having the medication inside me any longer. So yeah, that was my journey.
Can you recall, like, part of all the emotions that you were going through? Because it started when you were coming into your teen years, and then having to hear all of these new languages in terms of the potentials of what you have, and then people would say, oh, if you take this medication, there's a potential you'll be okay, and then a few years later they say, well, look, we can't guarantee anything. What was your mental state then, excluding the medication and what it did later on to you, as you were saying? But I just wanted to I just want to dive into your head, what was going on then, if you reflect now, hearing all of those things, and as a teenager at the time with aspirations. What were you going through emotionally at that time?
For me, when I was sighted, I was really timid. I was a shy person. So hearing that I may not be able to go back to school, that didn't register in my mind that in the following years, all these medication are going to take some side effects, a really bad one. So when it came to the point where I could feel isolation, I could, in my head, thinking of, my God, how do blind people live? It's accepting, trying to accept it, and I just couldn't. I couldn't see past the who am I as a blind person? Given that, and during that time, I had support services coming through, sort of trying to do my assessment, trying to figure out my aspirations, like the Blind Foundation. And I have someone that did that with me, who has become a good friend now. But back then, I kept ignoring them. Like, I pretend not to be at home, and because I wasn't dealing with the fact that I was going to learn, being blind, and I have to learn this. I was dealing with the I think it was my pride, in a way, my dignity of, I'm usually someone that does think independently. I visually like to cook. I visually love riding bikes, and there's some sports I joined, but there was a lot of things that I was thinking about if I lose my sight. So that was my main. I never looked past the fact that, okay, I have to learn something. It was, I'm stuck into, I would rather die than losing my sight. I didn't see past anything of that. There's no aspiration when you're blind, because I don't know anything about disability back then. During school, I think learning about mental health, I remember one of my teacher had got a slap on the wrist about talking about mental health and suicide and all those things. And disability itself, I mean, I see people around with wheelchairs, but I never thought, I'm going to grow up and have a disability. Even as a child and growing up in my village, that there were, I see it. There's people that are around with not wheelchairs, but they're using their legs and their hands to walk around. And for me, I didn't think that would be my life, and so that was depressing to think about. So there was the only thing I wanted was I want a doctor to fix my eyes, and then I'll be better again. Trying to do some research overseas, if there's any cure to have, because that's all I wanted. That's all was in my mind. I didn't want any of these support services coming and trying to help me. This is my life, and this is what I want.
And can I ask, what did you always want it to be before all of that happened when you were a child? During the time before you, for a limited period, lost the aspiration part of living? Well, what did you want it to be when you grew up?
I've always wanted to join the army. It was either that and a teacher. And it was funny because I wasn't a bad student, but I was a fair enough good student. But I wanted to be somewhere where I can teach, or somewhere where I can physically move around or learn. But I remember during school, I think that's where I got my aspiration from. When, as a senior, we had an army group that came to do workshops at our school when we have career day, and they talked about what they did, and traveling and being in a Peace Corps service. I really wanted that because I think traveling was one of the things I wanted to do.
At what point did you arrive to that, as your vision started to leave you? At what point that you accepted that this is going to be me?
Yeah, so during that time, and it was many years for me. Inside my head, I was battling that. What do I do now? It's I just the fact that I'm still in this predicament that I'm in, and yet the years are moving on. So I think one of the things that I want to touch on is something that I guess some people may have gone through, and some may not. I went through a period of my life where my mind just went dark, from trying to think of my life. My life, I was hopeless. I had no dreams, nothing. I asked myself, I can't contribute to my family. There's nothing for me to do getting up in the morning. This is not what I wanted in life. So during that time, I battled with an argument with myself, getting professional help, because while disability services were around, my mind was elsewhere, and I knew that I can't go into actually going into these disability support without me being mentally focused or well, because I knew I wasn't mentally well. And I knew that because I was isolating myself more. There were times that, our families, want to go places. I wouldn't go anywhere. There were times and years I would stay at home and not do anything. And about the hardest decision I thought, looking back, to make, and I think the best for me to make, was that I actually have reached out. And I didn't know how to. I didn't know where to go. The only thing I had a good relationship with my GP back then. And I pondered on that for so many weeks, and I thought myself, like, oh, what if everyone knows that that I'm weak, and I've I might be having this thing called depression, or it was all around that, like, of what people would think of me. And I thought, oh, I guess, okay, let me just try and do it. So I went. I asked for my doctor. Got went into the to get my appointment, and it wasn't until there something changed in the way I looked at life, because she sat me down. I mean, there were tears and everything, and she sat me down and told me that the thoughts that these dark thoughts that you have in your head is not normal. I didn't know that. I thought that was normal to me because I've always had it. And then I asked her, will I get better? And she said to me, and I held her to that promise, that you will manage these, what you're going through, and going through a good professional support will lift those clouds that are in your mind, or will make you see things that you're oblivious to right now. Things will get better. And for me, that was a small window of hope, that I felt like I wasn't going, I don't know the word that people use, I wasn't going out of my mind, or something was happening to me. And that's where my journey of reaching out, getting help, getting therapy, and talking about all the suppressed feelings that I have about losing my sight. What's beyond that? What am I going to do next? I think from there, it slowly became that journey of me just opening up, telling my parents, telling my family, my siblings, talking to them about, this is what it is. It's not just a everyday, being depressed and the next day you're fine. It's about not being able to pull up my socks every day and just get on with life. It's just there's some chemical imbalance in my brain that I need a bit of support with. And my family was very supportive, especially my mum, because my mum has always been someone that always told me, what do you want to do with your life? Well, there are people coming in here and they want to support you. And I just said, I don't want it. I'm not ready. And so from going through that support system of therapy and taking some medication just to, I guess, to balance that part of the chemical imbalance that I had, did help me. And it took, I think, about a year or two for me to actually get on my feet and actually started seeing things differently. My perspective was different in life. It was my turn to reach out to these services and say, I think I want to try that. In my mind, I said to myself, I made a deal to myself that, okay, now that I'm losing my sight, and now that I'm going to go into this world, I'm going to learn everything I can. But I know I'll still have that hope that I will have my sight again. So it was hanging on to that and learning to adjust to my new environment and where I am now.
You are inspirational, my friend.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, look, so here's the thing. Earlier on, you were saying that part of the challenge that you were encountering was this, and I guess you were looking at it at that point, you were looking at life from the perspective of someone with sight, yeah?
Mm,
And you were saying, going blind. I mean, what aspirations are there for
yeah.
blind people? So many, many moons have seen. You have seemed to have gotten on top of all of that. What are some of the aspirational things that now drives you every day?
Um,
As not as a blind person, but Jacinta Tevaga-Vito, who just so happens to be blind.
wanna win the lotto. Sorry. um, my aspiration now is to become more, to achieve more than I'd like. If I were achieving something, I'll say, example, to start finding work. That was really hard, and that was my first, aspiration to do was, okay, maybe I can find work as someone with that's blind. And so those kind of small steps of aspiration, okay, I've found work, I'm doing all these things, but I think I'm in that part of my life where I like to think um, that for the young ones that are coming in now, that they have that same drive and aspirations to do, what it is that they want to do in life, because you can pretty much do anything with your eyes closed now that I know. And my hope and aspiration is actually to have a group of us as tangata sa iri malo, where we share that aspiration and support each other, because there's some of us that know more and some of us that know less, and that we help each other to reach everyone else's aspiration. Because I think for me now, I'm in my early 40s, and I think I'm there, where I'm actually very comfortable and happy, and where I am and what I've achieved so far in life. Anything else is a bonus, I guess.
Do you still have, you were saying that part of, as you were going through your journey as a blind person, there was still that thought in the back of your mind that, maybe one day I'll get my vision back.
Hmm.
Is that still part of, does it still linger around, or have you fully, like, you know what, I'm good. This is how the cookie crumbles, and Jacinta's on top of her world.
I like to believe in hope or miracle. I still have that, but I'm happy where I am. I never thought I would say this is the happiest I've ever been in my life. Um, Knowing that, having good friends, being in a community that I have gotten to know for the past 10 years, and meeting, people I never thought I'll meet, even traveling for work, as well as still learning to navigate this world. But if I were to see again, and that wouldn't change me as who I am now. Before, I was not a confident person, but now I feel that I'm able to talk in front of people without sort of having a nervous breakdown, because that's what I was before. I used to just sweating and getting nervous. But my sister always told me, because when she had bad sight, she wears glasses, and I always tell her, "What's your secret?" Because she wasn't wearing glasses, goes, "Oh, it's easy because I can't see people, far." And so I'm able to perform. I'm just pretending to perform. So that's what I've been doing now, as my coping mechanism for being nervous. But yeah, I enjoyed life. But yeah, I still have that. I hope at the back of my mind.
One of the aspects of, I guess, the Tōfā Mamao and what we try to serve and put out as part of our focus is that it's not only just for the person impacted, it's also for the carers as well as the families.
Mm.
Um, what do you recall of what was going on around your family at the time? I'm sure they were all hoping for you to, all trying to support, but and you are you the only person without sight
Yes.
in the whole family?
Yes.
Generations before that you know of growing up in the village? Is this hereditary or was it
No.
something that just wishes how the card that you were dealt coming into the world?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the only one. My whole family, from my dad and my mum's side, they wear glasses. Especially my dad's family, they all wear glasses at a young age. But this is different. I'm the only one that had it. So with my family, um, during that time, it's always I was raised by a village, and I was raised in a village. So anything that I went through, my family will always come together. Uh, an example of that, when I decided coming out of what I came out of in that darkness to actually move on with life, my mother was the one that always pushed me. She never held me back. She always said to me, I will talk to her. I said, look, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go try and learn adaptive technology. She goes, that's good. It's about time. um, so even with my siblings, they were very supportive of me getting to this point, and even finding work. My mother also, has always been that person. Like, that's good. You need to do something with your life. You can't just stay home and do nothing. So there was always that collective. We always had this solau pule sort of decision making in our family growing up. And I think for me, tangata sa iri malo was one and many, including our nofoa kainga and our tautua soifua. We work together as a family. So when I get support, I would like to have support for my mother, because I stay with my parents. And, there are things that growing up, when the time when I was losing my sight, I hear it in church, in our village, I guess in a community. There may have been a curse, someone has cursed me or something, or maybe something my forefathers have done for this to happen. All those things I know was happening in the background, but my mother has always directed me to move forward, not to worry about that, and to even with my siblings, to say, just move on and don't worry about that. This is New Zealand. We've got support and help around here, and it's good that we have that, because we don't have that in Samoa.
I'm glad you touched on that because that was going to be my next questions. The sort of the challenges that one would encounter, especially coming from our Pacific cultures. There's always those societal challenges or perspectives.
Mm.
They always look at
Yes.
someone and say, "Oh, yeah, you shouldn't have eaten that pig, or you shouldn't have eaten that taro." I mean, what? I know that as part of this project is we're going to encounter, and mainly because we're all Pacific Islanders, we're going to encounter the same experiences. But how were you sheltered from that? You touched a little bit how mom always kept you like, don't worry about that stuff, just move forward. But I also like what she said, this is New Zealand.
Yeah.
Mainly because we're trying to advise our people, like, this is New Zealand, like,
Yeah.
make use of the help. Because one of the challenges that that we're experiencing here, it's like we leave the islands to come here,
Yeah.
always for a better life, right?
Mhm.
But then we come here and we're still kind of tied back by the stigma.
Yeah.
especially when there's someone with a disability amongst us, whether it's our son or acquired or born with. How, aside from mom always, telling you to keep your eyes forward and progress, what were other ways that your friends and family structure at the time supported you in terms of overcoming a lot of that? Because a lot of it you didn't ask for, but if there's a fly on your nose, they'll tell
Yeah.
you. What were some of the ways that you experienced that allowed you to sort of, I mean, you could not have ignored it. It was especially our our community, how we just coexist a lot with
Yep.
one another. So can you talk to that in terms of what were some of the mechanisms, or what were some of the support that you encountered that allowed you to just kind of ignore that very loud noise, especially at church when
Yeah.
people are supposed to be clean?
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in Samoa, and what we know is what we know, and from my grandmother, they always used to tell us stories, the legends, the legend stories of our culture, and so it was quite different because when we used to see taulasia, which is someone that does fufu, back in the villages, those were our ways of getting our fufus or with any sickness that we had. And when we came to New Zealand, we were very young, so quickly adopted the Western culture that we have here. And being involved in church, where my mother was, and in the community, the village itself. And so when that happened, there's this division of the church itself, the Christianity beliefs itself, of going to looking at the perspective of the religion side of things. Your mother must have ate something, or your parents must have done something wrong. And then there was another one from the cultural perspective, was someone cursed you from another Pacific country. I can't remember how do they say it, whakaolawakau or something. Yeah, whalawakau. So those
Spell.
Yes, a spell. So those were kind of things that during that time that that I struggled with, because there was two different things, that cultural side and the religious side, where that's what people were saying. So what happened was, there were many times that we went to kaulasias, and there were many times we went to the healing masses. And my mum came along with me. We did it as a family, and we had to do that in terms of, because that was the practice of our faith. So that what was happening. Prayer is a powerful thing. I still believe in that, but for me, going through that didn't really register to me, because I left Samoa when I was 10. So I didn't understand that. I knew myself that something medically happened to me, but I also knew my mom had this worried about of our people back home in the village, because we hear things back in our village, our families are talking, and so my mother, I didn't know what she was going through. I don't know if that was heavy on her mind. I wasn't sure, but she was really someone that prayed a lot. She has her own prayer group, and that she's still in. And I think for her, that gave her strength. She was also someone that was realistic with things in life, and someone that was, put all her faith in God at the same time. Because my mum also had a journey that she had cancer. That was many, many years ago, and she put her whole faith in God. She had her operation and said, okay, I am going to leave it up to God, and I'll continue to pray. That's how realistic and that's how faithful my mum is. And she's cancer-free now, thank God, for the past 15, 16 years. My condition has been over more than 20 years. And both of us going through that, I really don't know what my mum's was going through that time. I can imagine it was hard. She had 5 other children to look after, and us at that time being teenagers and working full-time to look after us. So, her whole worry was to put a roof over our head and to feed us, and as well as education. So I guess my answer to that, I really don't know how it affected my mum. I would love to know what it was. I know that it might have hurt, because it did hurt me when people talked about it, when people were saying things about that, your mum must have done something, or your something your dad did before he died. That's why your dad died. All those things really did hurt me. But like I said, I got support and professional help during that time, and was unpacking all those things that I went through, where we quickly had to move forward without, grieving my father, coming to New Zealand, having this whole culture shock of living here, and then understanding there's support for people like us. So emotionally, really a roller coaster one, because there were, some of it we just couldn't. We continue to pray and pray and pray, and continue to be amongst these people in church and in our community. And my mum is someone that really doesn't really care what people think of her, and so she moved forward from that.
I think it's fair to say you both were on a journey.
Yes, yeah, we were both on that journey.
So with that experience, how would you speak to families that maybe have yet to, or who are going through that experience, who are still, a lack of a better word, still give a damn about what other people think and say? But given the experience that you just talked about, I mean, from the position that you are now, what would be your advice to families that are going through not only accepting, encountering, trying to figure out what's wrong with their loved ones, but at the same time, how do they guard themselves from all these cultural and religious challenges that we tend to wear? Sometimes we wear it more than people talk about it, but it's natural because of the environments that we came from. So what do you say to them?
At the end of the day, it's your own life, your own wellness, well-being, and your own spiritual journey, I guess, because those people won't be there at some point in your journey, and you may, along the way, and cut your losses and say, these were the people that were weighing me down, through society, for your friends or the friends that you had. There's the element, and I know that, speaking individually instead of collectively, there is, to an extent, that only you can help yourself. Only you can come to a point to say, okay, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to need your help. And that's where collectivism come in. I'm going to need a doctor's help. I'm going to need the support of the services. I'm going to need my family to be behind me. But that's your decision. And that comes from you. I mean, my family loved me so much and wanted to help me so much, and wanted to, carry this for me, but they just couldn't, because I wouldn't move. And so it was the fact that I had to come to terms in that.
And what are some of the things that you feel have improved or not improved going through just the system of support that we do have?
all the different services support that we have has its own different challenges and positive in it. I think for me, accessing service back then where I had no idea how to do it, and it only depends on what you know and the information you are given. So I've been working in the Pacific community for quite a long time, and during that time, I've developed connections through the different Pacifica organizations as well as the arm of disability sectors of Pacifica. And from that, I developed a good rapport in terms of, I think I would call it a Pacific ecosystem, where now it's easier for me to access any service because I've known those service for such a long time. So, for example, just recently, and I've been in the system for a very long time, but just recently, I think 6 months ago, I just decided to go and get disability support because when I was working in everything, I was getting a lot of support through the different services that is used for us to, have transport, to have equipment for the part of our work, but for personal support, as in support workers, I've never had that because my default was always my family. And there comes to that time where I say, I want my family to be my family, my mother to be my mother, and my, everyone to be my friend. And that separates me from having someone to actually do that support work. And so that was my first time getting that. And I found it really, I guess, a good journey because things have changed around the disability system, how its assessments, how it went. And because of hearing from different people's stories of assessment. And this is why the peer support of Tangata Sa Ilimalo and the collective is important. So we share our story and the fact that how we got support, what the language we used to get those support. So a lot easier for me to access support now, more confident than I used to in getting that support. And not only disability support, but also support around wellness support, support around if I'm wanting to join a gym or anything else that's out of the disability sort of support that the disability support have support for. They can support me in terms of having someone to go with you to the gym or take you for a walk. All those kind of things that I always used to get my family to do. All those things I never thought I'll get to do by having that support. And I need that support as well. And it's been good for me.
What I'm encountering is that you went through various layers of, there was the battle of, holy crap, I'm about to lose my son. There are so many things I want to see, touch, and, and then while that's going on, you're trying to figure out, why am I feeling like this? And you weren't attaching them together. So they were kind of isolated little gateways. So, but knowing what you know now, and if you were facing that little Jacinta, and as I am assuming many other Jacintas would have had the similar experiences, what's your message to yourself?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would definitely, the first thing that I would say to anyone, or going back to myself, was that reach out. For myself as Samoan, or me, or as some Pacific people are, it is the hardest thing I've ever had to do. And I don't know if that's like for other people that are vulnerable right now of not knowing what to do and are going through that period of there's no hope for me. That would be my only words, is to reach out to someone, reach out to your family, your friends, or professional, your doctors, your GP. I find that a lot of people forget that GP as your primary doctors are the ones that can know you well with your medical history. But that was my go. My first go was my GP, because I didn't know where else to go. I didn't know where mental health services were. But if you were that someone that knows your GP well, reach out to them. I know it's going to be the hardest thing to do, but for me it was the easiest, I guess not easiest, but the best thing could ever happen to me. Even losing my sight may have been the best thing that ever happened to me, because I would have never had the strength inside me that I never knew I had, or the confidence, or meeting people, or even having the work that I do, that I get to travel. So there is hope, and there is always a light if you were to reach out, talk to someone, and if not, continue to keep speaking, or just, tell someone, keep telling someone. If someone doesn't listen, tell someone else. It is important that people know, and it is important for you to know what's available out there. Or if people now with phones and laptops, there is, look up for help, because going through something like that it's not something that people can take it lightly. It is something that it is a journey. It can be a longer journey if you continue to wait.
So my last question is, you say one of the goals, it was part of the independence was to, find a job, somebody that wasn't going to pity you, but wanted to hire you for your skills. So are you now employed, and how much money are you getting?
Yes. So I work at Donald Beasley, based in Dunedin, as a research assistant. I've been working there for almost a year and a half. Previous to that, I've worked at Wakatautua, a Pacific organisation, for the past 7 years. And before that, my first job was a waitress, as there was a concept of dining in the dark. That was my first employment. I was excited for it, but I was nervous. But it was about getting people that were sighted and guiding them into pitch dark rooms to eat their dinner, which was fun to hear them drop their water and everything. But so that was my first employment when I started. And then I worked 2 jobs, which was there. I worked because it was a night shift job, and in the morning I worked at Wakatautua. So I was young with quite good energy. I think I was in my early 30s then. And with great energy, I was able to do two jobs at one time. So that's where I was. I started working, and then at the moment I'm on the Wakatautua as a board member, and as well as Pious Trust and Taikora Trust, representing the Pious Trust on the Taikora board member as a trustee. So that's what I'm doing right now.
So you went from wondering what to do to doing everything else. Leave some for other people.
Yeah. That's why I want the young ones to retire soon.
Oh my Lord. After tele lovela sunga, and wow, very inspiring. Very inspiring. No wonder why when I look at you, I feel like, ew, you are way too good.
I know.
Yeah, after tele lava tua fine, mara fa so that's